Every day we brush past people, unaware of one another. Where are they going and where have they been? What if, for a moment, we could sit with them and find out who they are, their hopes, their dreams, their fears, their ambitions? Perhaps there are people for whom every day is a struggle to be heard. Passionate people who struggle in the face of adversity, great odds, and even discouragement. Everybody has a story. All you have to do is listen. When you see a transgender person, what enters your mind? Don't feel bad. There's a lot of stigma placed upon us through culture, science, and even medicine. For a long time now, the LGBT community has been a safe and welcoming place for transgender people, but now some within this community want to remove the T. Wasn't the whole point of the LGBT movement to stop shaming people for their sexual orientations and gender identities? It's kind of ironic that transgender people spend their whole lives seeking an authentic existence only to dive into new closets.
Now let's go meet up with Heaven Love, who transitioned to become a woman. Now, she left her small town of Pembroke to come to Ottawa. Will she find more acceptance in a bigger city? Will she find a community? Let's go find out. So you started transitioning to a woman 8 months ago.
That is correct.
Hormones.
That is correct, yes.
Wow. And growing boobs.
Very painful, sensitive to the touch, can't lie on your chest.
No.
Wearing bras some days really suck.
Because you're growing tissue. I mean, it's actually duplicating fat tissue, and it's...
Correct. It's duplicating the female tissue, so it's growing.
Now, do you find the hormones are kind of changing your emotions?
Oh, definitely. It's changed the way I think, the way my outlook in life has changed. I would say, yeah, I'm definitely a new person from what I was 8 months ago.
Your outlook, not just your emotions, but the way you perceive things.
The way I perceive things, a lot. My attitude towards life, just everything changes as you're going through.
Incredible.
It has to be been very, very, very difficult on me. Very emotional, but other than that, I'm happy the rate I'm going. I finally feel like I'm myself, so that's a good thing. I don't have to hide from anyone or nothing because real girls aren't perfect, okay? Remember that.
Because it's funny because they say, a lot of people say there's no real physical difference between a man and a woman, but
Right.
hormones prove that there is a difference in character and thought and emotion and reactions to things.
Yeah.
Wow, and you used to be very different.
Very different, yes. Very masculine. I used to model. I used to go to the gym every day. So I was a really masculine male.
And there was aggression there.
A lot of aggression, a lot of resentment, a lot of... Yeah, it was not fun.
And it's kind of like slowly dissipating a bit, kind of leveling out.
Yeah, it's slowly starting to level out now. Everything's starting to fit into place, and I'm starting to become the woman I am, and yeah, I'm happy.
That's incredible.
I'm finally myself. I wish I would have done this a long, long time ago. I feel great. I look great. Be yourself, no matter what anybody says, because, honey, you're gonna notice that you're gonna enjoy life so much better to not care what other people think and to just do your own thing. I'm feeling very, very happy with my
transition so far. Within 3 months, I've changed drastically. The way I think, the way I talk, my feelings towards others, my whole outlook in life.
So is there a bit of lingering insecurities about appearing as a man still?
Yes, every day I struggle with the insecurities of still looking masculine.
And you think people are looking at you and saying, hey, that's a man?
Correct. Yes.
Well, you're very feminine.
Thank you.
Very feminine.
I try really hard, yeah.
It must be exhausting.
Very exhausting. There's nights that I come home and I can't do anything. It's just straight to bed. It's very hard on the body. It's tough trying to feminize your body when you're so used to being so masculine.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a huge change, you know, like everything's just constantly go, 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 go. And yeah, it's a big process, but I don't regret one bit of it. I'm happy.
So it's probably more difficult to transition from a man to a woman than a woman to a man.
Correct. Yes.
Yeah.
Baby, look at my stomach.
It's small.
It's fat.
Man.
The hormones made me fat.
No, they did. If anyone is watching this, like, can you please tell Heaven that she's not fat? And it's honestly in her head because she's always been a small, little, tiny thing.
I got fat.
When you're sore and you don't feel like moving after a workout at the gym.
Very exhausting.
Very exhausting.
And the makeup, but over time, it might become second nature, easier.
Yeah, I notice every day it's starting to get a bit better and better, easier, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I don't look in the mirror as much as I used to. I'm not second guessing myself when I'm in public.
And it's hard to
Yeah.
believe it's only been 9 months, and it's only been 9 months.
9 months, yes.
So it is gonna, you know,
It will.
become habitually
Yes.
easier.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So you came to Ottawa from Pembroke.
that is correct, yes.
Why the move?
Small town, how would I say this? They're very old school.
Mm-hmm.
So down there, it's not as normal to see a trans female
Yeah.
walking the streets as it is in the city.
Small town people are very intolerant of people who are different.
That is correct, yes.
Yeah. So and how's Ottawa treating you?
It's pretty good. It has its ups and downs. There are some people that are still very, how would I say this, discriminatory towards us. But I want to make it more aware, and I want it to be the new normal. Like, we are people. We all have feelings, no matter what we look like, you know? So it's just respect, respect, respect.
And it's important to set a stage where people feel comfortable
That is
coming
right,
out.
yes.
And yeah. So you were almost shunned from the gay community.
I was, correct, yes. I used to do drag. I started off dressing up and going out and being a performer because that was the way of me being able to be myself at night. And then I realized that's not who I am. They were very rude. They were very non-supportive of each other when they should be supporting each other because we are a gay society, or so they are, I should say. So they should be respecting each other instead of putting each other down. So I decided to step away from that when I started the transition. They were too rude, I guess. They would always say I would never get anywhere where I am now, and look at me now. I'm happy.
Indeed. I'm sure I've heard around that the gay community often feel like if you're a man transitioning to a woman and you have a girlfriend, it's more of a heterosexual fetish
That's right.
than a transitioning.
Yep.
But you have a boyfriend, you are gay. So, and
Yep.
you're not welcomed in the gay community.
That is correct.
It needs to be a safe haven for people.
Yep. It's tough. They need a wake-up call for sure.
So there's bigotry everywhere.
Everywhere. Always.
And you're very alienated now because of that. Are you moving back to Pembroke?
It is in the back of my head. I know I'm going to be leaving Ottawa very shortly. I'm just not too sure if it's going to be Pembroke or I'm going to go elsewhere. Maybe Toronto, follow my dreams more. Yeah.
What are your dreams?
I'd like to open up my own salon one day because I'm a hairstylist. I enjoy doing hair. I like makeup, things like that. So my dream would be to own my own salon one day.
I can see that.
Yeah.
Because you got sass.
I got some sass.
And you need sass to have a salon.
That's correct, yes.
Because that's a very people business.
Very people business, yes. I'm a very people person. Like, I get along with everyone, and
You find you get along better now because of the hormones?
yes.
You're more
it's a lot
tolerant?
more tolerant than before, correct.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Wow. So it must be hard to get work.
It's been very difficult for me to get work, yes.
Like, if you have to walk into a place and speak to an employer,
Correct.
I mean, doesn't it just destroy you? The anxiety?
Very high anxiety. The bosses kind of take a look at me and they're like, "That's trans? Like you're transsexual?" I'm like, "Yes." So they say they're gonna call me back, but I never get a phone call back.
Do you get any dirty looks?
I do. I've had an old couple that told me it's not right that I'm in this washroom. And I said, "Look at me. Do I look like a male? No, I look like a female. Therefore, I'm not going to go and walk into a male's washroom." Can you imagine me walking into a male's washroom? The reactions I'd get? I think it'd be a lot worse than walking into a female bathroom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You might be in constant scrutiny of the public eye. It's because if, straight people, when straight people are kinky, it sells millions of books, makes box office records. But when transgender people
Right.
are kinky, it might be used as an agenda to prove that it's sexual deviancy. So it's kind of like you're jumping from one closet to the next.
Correct.
Isn't that horrible? Your boyfriend is straight.
That is correct, yes. I'm the first transsexual he's been with. Ever. He's been searching for one since he was, I think, 9 years old. And then he found me. And
Specifically.
specifically, yes.
Wow.
And he says that it's very hard to find transgender people because we are so closeted in the society that it's tough for the straight men that like transsexuals. It's harder for them to find someone.
And that is very common among
Very common.
straight men.
That is correct, yes. Very common.
Is he going to come out? Can we meet him? Can we say hi?
Yeah, of course you can. Baby, can you come say hi, please?
So you're Heaven's boyfriend. Heaven's boyfriend. Hello, I got to shake your hand.
Hello,
What's your name?
my name is Patrick.
Patrick. And you guys have been dating for how long?
For almost 3 weeks now.
It's right in its infancy. It's so exciting. Anything can happen. Like you like her now.
Yeah, I love her a lot.
Give it time. I'm kidding. I've been in a long-term relationship and it's fantastic. So thank you so much for supporting Heaven. I got that song in my head every time I hear her name. It's like, Heaven, I'm in heaven. Did you get that?
I do get it. Yeah.
That's a great song. It's a great song. Anyway, thanks so much. We'll continue the interview now. You can go away.
Okay.
Goodbye.
I'm worried about the next transgender person that can't take the abuse, anything that you people will throw at them. And I'm going to be that one that's going to stand up for all the GBLT community, and regardless of what you haters think, you're not going to stop me. So, by all means, next time you think about being rude to someone, stop for a minute and think, what if that was you? What if you were going through something like that? Okay? Put yourself in our shoes and see what we're going through. And then maybe, for 1 second, you would understand. You would understand how hard it is for us.
Now let's go meet up with Talia, who transitioned to become a woman. Now, she's also part of the Jewish community. Now, will she find acceptance or excommunication?
Transgender. What is the noun for transgender? Is there a noun?
There is not.
There's not.
You would say somebody is transgender or a transgender person or transgender male, transgender female, transgender non-binary, and the list goes on.
But it kind of breaks conventional grammar by not having a noun. So, but you say transgender person.
Right.
Okay. Now, acceptance into the LGBTQ, QT?
It's an alphabet soup.
It's an alphabet soup. Acceptance into the LGBTQT is often correlated with the understanding that sexual orientation is inborn. So it puts a person in a position where if they don't say they always knew, it kind of casts doubt on the validity of their gender identity. Do you feel that?
When we hear about how people have transitioned, it's always, I knew when I was young, and there are these sort of set narratives that come into play. So if one doesn't necessarily, quote, know at a young age, what happens is then when seeking medical care or mental health services, people tend to want to fall into the narratives because that's what people expect to hear. At the same time, they may not be aware of it at a young age. Yet looking back later in life, they can say, oh, that's why my behaviors were such, or why my feelings were such.
Now, at what age did you know?
I would say I came into full understanding at 36, but it had been repressed for many years.
But you felt there was something off a bit.
Right.
Yeah.
And being a child in the 70s and 80s, I think I intuitively knew it wasn't safe.
And you're also an active part of the Jewish community. Is it accepted? Widely accepted?
It varies depending on the community. Much like in Christianity, various churches and denominations are more accepting than others. And the goal isn't just acceptance, it's moving to full inclusion and affirmation.
Do you find there's adequate access to transition-related care in Ottawa?
No. In a nutshell, part of the problem is there aren't enough providers who provide both the mental health services and the physical health services. I believe there are 2 or 3 endocrinologists that work with people who are seeking hormone therapy. When it comes to mental health care, when you see a counselor, psychotherapist, psychologist, there may not be a good therapeutic relationship between 2 people. So sometimes finding that good fit is also a challenge.
Yeah, it's a very sensitive issue for the person transitioning. Is it possible that therapists can do irreparable damage?
They can do great harm.
Great harm.
And many have. And as somebody put it, there is an intergenerational trauma when it comes to transgender people and dealing with both physical and mental health care systems, to the point where many, if not most, don't trust the health professionals.
Certain transgender people may be deprived of certain care because there's a conservative agenda that transitioning is a mental illness, it's a disorder. So when people actually suffer from mental illnesses, they might feel they would do the community a disservice by coming out.
There isn't so much of that here in Ottawa, yet at the same time there is still very much this attitude that one shouldn't, or it's unnatural, or religious communities will say it goes against their sacred texts. There are still young people who are kicked out of houses, their family home, when they come out. For people who are older and deciding to move through a social and or medical transition, that there's fear of losing family if they're married, losing their marriage, losing access to children. While it's not supposed to be a factor in custody cases, it still sometimes is used as a case, or the parent who is not transitioning may alienate the children from the parent who is, and it can get extremely messy.
Oh, there's a lot to consider. So you sing in a choir.
I have in the past. I don't at the moment. I'm looking for one.
I do a lot of karaoke poorly because, you know, if you're good at karaoke, you have no business doing karaoke.
that's important because so much of our cues on how we interpret somebody's gender is based on how they sound.
Yeah.
I'm very fortunate that I had that singing, public speaking, etc. And I'm also fortunate to have an extremely wide vocal range.
And that does bring up a good question. Do you try to be feminine or look feminine or?
At this point, I just sort of am.
Yeah.
I did work on my voice for a while initially. If I revert to another different part of my vocal range, it startles people. What I talk down about there. So it has its fun moments too.
In certain places, mainly the States, but I'm sure a couple places in Canada, transgender persons' legal rights are based on their surgical status.
What we're seeing is an attack on the rights of transgender people where there's an essentialist view of sex and gender aimed at denying transgender people access to public bathrooms, change rooms, etc. And a lot of it is based on myths around transgender women being predators.
Do you ever get grief for using?
I have not for quite a while. At the same time, the washroom issue is important. It's not the end-all and be-all. What is really important is access to jobs. There's still widespread discrimination, particularly for transgender women. One survey showed that 50+% of transgender people were making less than $15,000 a year.
That's way below the poverty line.
Correct.
Like way
That's
below.
almost $10,000 below Ottawa's poverty line.
Wow.
It can be difficult. In many communities, there are no people who are able to work with transgender people or have the experience to even help somebody who's exploring their gender identity to figure out where they're at, or if somebody knows that they need to transition, getting the required letters for access to hormones and the assessments, and then having a doctor who knows what tests to run to determine whether or not somebody's physically healthy and
mentally healthy? Is there a psych evaluation involved?
There is an assessment done for both hormone starts and access to the various surgeries. And how they're administered varies greatly depending on who you're seeing. For hormones, according to the guidelines, they have to be reasonably well managed. Surgery, it has to be well managed because there's a lot of recovery time involved. So the goal isn't to say no, the goal is to say what can be done to make sure that you have the best outcome possible. Unfortunately, most providers don't go in that direction. They see it as more of a gatekeeping where they're saying yes or no, you're allowed to have the surgery. And again, it really needs to be a collaborative approach between the individual and their healthcare team.
Thank you so much for coming out and being on the show today.
Now let's go meet up with Zachary, who transitioned to become a man while in a marriage. Now, will his spouse be as supportive, or will this completely change the dynamic of their marriage? Thanks for meeting me. Zach, you prefer Zach. You go by Zach, right? Yeah. Okay. So you are in the process of transitioning to become a man.
Yes.
When did you know?
I would say I probably knew for sure at the age of around 8 or 10 years old, when I started noticing that I was attracted more so to women and not feeling as though I was the person that I was.
And you're going through a lot of hormones, hormone therapy, Are you noticing a change in your behavior and your emotions?
Everything's changing. I take injections in forms of hormones, so I get an injection a week, and I would say that has made my facial structure change. In terms of my build, I've become a lot wider, a little bit more muscular, so I guess I fill out more of the man physique than a woman physique.
Facial hair.
Facial hair. I love the facial hair.
Welcome to the club.
Yes, I got a beard. I'm happy about that. In terms of emotion, lack of emotion, I would say. Men tend to have a little bit less emotion than women, so I find that I have lacked in the emotion department.
But you're actually aware that you're lacking the emotion you used to have in a particular situation.
Yeah, absolutely. Example, if there's a TV show on that requires some emotion or it's upsetting and the wife will start crying and I'm puzzled as to why I'm
You
not
used to
crying.
cry, now you're like-
I did. I always cried. I cried all the time. Now I don't cry.
So you had mentioned earlier you're still a bit of insecurity about going to public outings and being seen in public. Do you still feel like people are seeing you as a woman?
I'm not sure that I feel that they're seeing me as a woman, but I get insecure. For example, if I go to a bar and I need to go to the restroom, I go to the male restroom, but I can't use a urinal yet. So I have to wait for a stall, and sometimes when I go to the stall, I wonder if the men that are at the urinals wonder why I'm in the stall or why I might be sitting to go to the washroom. So that raises some insecurities.
Yeah, you got the runs. You have to go. You're going to be there a while.
Yeah.
Soon you're going to be able to write your name in the snow, and that's going to be fantastic. I mean, technically you can still do it right now, but it takes a lot of leg power. I mean, technically you got to.
Yeah.
And if your name is really long, then that takes a lot of
I'm
water.
short, so I'm good. Short name.
When is that process happening for you?
So far, I've only completed part of my transition in terms of surgery, so I've only had the upper portion of my surgery completed. The lower portion is just a cost. Everything's really expensive. Lower surgery is in the upwards of the 6-digit in terms of cost. So for now, that's definitely off the table. Whether or not I'm going to have it, I don't know yet.
Really? At all? Not have it at all, maybe?
I might not have it at all. I don't think the procedure is perfected to the point that I would be happy with
And there
it
could be
yet.
some complications?
Tons of complications. From what I hear, there's people that try to use the washroom and there's leakage or it doesn't perform the way that it's supposed to perform. So until they perfect that, I'm not 100% sure that I would go that route yet.
But then you can pee standing up.
I know. Well, I could still pee standing,
still
but
pee
with
standing up.
devices. There's devices for transgender individuals to stand to pee.
Yeah, I pee sitting down now because, you know, as you get older, you realize, you know, where's this pee coming from? You guys, it splashes.
Yeah.
You're peeing and a splash goes everywhere. And it runs down the side of the toilet bowl, and it gets so exhausting trying to clean this all the time. It's so much easier just to sit down and pee. And I recommend that to all the men.
I bet.
Yeah. Regret. Having regrets after transitioning is not common, but it does happen, I imagine, right?
It happens.
It happens. And I'm sure people are reluctant to talk about it because wouldn't it complicate our efforts for acceptance? But have you known anyone who's had regrets?
Not personally, but I have heard of people that have had regrets. It's quite a lot more common than you would think. I think that once the transition has been completed for some people, they definitely have a lot of regret. Just in terms of noticing that their appearance is not what they might have expected it to be, so then they regret, oh my gosh, what did I do to myself? Why do I look this way? I was a lot more comfortable before than I am now.
I wonder if it has something to do with the postpartum.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's a sort of postpartum,
There could be.
very profound. Yeah.
There's a case currently on Facebook that I noticed, a transgender couple, a male to female and a female to male, who are a couple and have completed their transition, both of them, and now regret doing that transition. And they put a lot of blame on the psychologists that they went to, the surgeons that they went to see. They blame them for not properly psychiatrically evaluating them the way that they should have been.
That's what I was going to mention next. Is there still a psychiatric evaluation going on here in Ottawa?
I didn't have to. I know that there are some. I think it depends on the doctor that you go to see. Some surgeons require that and some don't.
Thanks for the coffee. I feel kind of funny. Did you put something in there?
You'll never know.
Do you want to? Oh,
You'll find out later.
you beat my joke with another joke.
Sorry.
Witty. Do you think there might be a lack of available support for non-transgender spouses?
I'm guessing, obviously. I've never heard of any. I happen to be married, actually, so my wife, I think if she ever had any concerns or questions in regards to my transition, I'm not sure where she would. I don't even think there are any for spouses, and if there is, obviously they don't advertise it well enough because I don't know of any.
It might be a good idea because I'm sure it
could be difficult on a marriage. It could be a strain on a marriage sometimes. Even if one partner wants to
Yeah.
transition. Wow.
She's left asking me all the questions, and sometimes I don't always have the answers. Always.
Like when you guys entered your relationship, it was a gay relationship, right?
It was.
Okay. And did she know you were wanting to transition?
She did not. She was actually straight before dating me, so she was dating men before she was dating me. Fell in love with me, so she started dating women. I was the only woman that she had dated. And then I would say maybe 2 to 3 months into our relationship was when I opened up with her and let her know how I was feeling and that I wanted to go through the transition.
And do you think she's more comfortable now, you as a man?
Oh, I hope so. I hope so. I'm not sure. I think so. She seems to be totally supportive of any decision that I've made, so I've definitely lucked out in that department.
So we've talked a lot about the struggles about transitioning, but overall, it's a great positive thing. You feel like yourself now. Can you envision yourself going back to being a woman?
Absolutely not. I definitely think, even with all the struggles, the cost, the acceptance from the public, from my family, even the community, the gay community itself, struggling with trying to adapt to fitting into the LGBT community, sometimes a struggle, but in all, 100% a positive experience. I would never change it for the world. I definitely feel like I'm 100% my true authentic self, and I wouldn't change it for a thing.
Oh, that is remarkable. Zach, thank you so much.
Thank you.
For everything.
Absolutely, my pleasure.
It's a cruel world out there. But as we're born into new generations, older ones will pass on, and eventually we will outnumber those born into bigotry, raised in intolerance, discrimination, hatred even. Yet in time, inclusion will grow. But until then, this is the forefront of discrimination. This is the beginning of the end. And it's not an easy struggle. There's still a lot of misconceptions out there. But the greatest education we can give is exposure. So let's all educate ourselves together. Now what if you were born a different sex, born into a body that wasn't your own, and everyone you talked to about it, everyone you confided into simply brushed it off, said, "You're confused, give it time, it'll pass, you need to talk to someone." What if it was your daughter? What if it was your son? What if it was your spouse? Now things are different when they hit close to home. Would your views change? Would your perspectives change? That's a lot to consider, a lot to think about. Thanks for listening.